My name is Prit Keller and I'm the primary care facilitator for Waltham Forest, and hopefully most of you will know who I am or have met me in some capacity. Co-presenting with me today is Jo Tissier. She is our senior primary care facilitator and she is covering for Faye, who's on maternity leave. So for those of you who are new to CEG, just a very brief background. We are based at Queen Mary University of London and we work with North East London practices and have been working for over 30 years now, supporting quality improvement. We build searches, templates, software tools, dashboards, etc. And we are a team of GPs, data analysts and facilitators. The agenda today looks a little bit like this. Jo will be giving us an overview of the Waltham Forest network contract LESIG, and specifically the ones that CEG will be supporting. I will then quickly give you a brief overview of the public health contracts, and most of these have been rolled over, so there shouldn't be anything too new in those. And then Jo will give us a brief overview of our other CEG resources that you may or may not be aware of, and also a little bit about what could be coming soon. Okay, I will hand you over to Jo now.
Thanks very much, Prit. So as Prit said, I'll be doing an overview of the contracts that CEG support. So you will have other contracts that we don't actually are not involved in. So the ones I'm going to go over are the ones on the slide here, LTC, the SNS, the KPI, childhood IMS, post-attached childhood asthma reviews, end-of-life phlebotomy, SMI physical health checks, spirometry assessment service, wound care, sexual health and NHS health checks. Actually, Prit will be covering those. The T today one is on hold by the ICB, so until we get any further information on that, we have not produced any resources. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to start off on the LTC SNS, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and review all the indicators. You may well be familiar with most of them from the contracts from last year, but I thought it would be a good idea for us to actually just go over everything. So if we're looking at the asthma domain in LTC, first of all, there's an indicator on the percentage of patients on the QoF asthma register aged 18 plus with a full asthma review. Now, a full asthma review, what we're picking up on, the following: review done, action plan given, ACT, inhaler technique, BMI, physical activity, and smoking status. With smoking status, what we pick up on are people who you are recording as current smokers, or you're doing their smoking status. That needs to be done yearly. Apart from people who are over 25 and who have never smoked, you don't have to do that yearly. Now, this indicator for asthma is what is called in the spec a process indicator. So the contract covers you doing this work, but this is not a payment indicator. So the target is 76%. We'd urge practices to get there, but the payment indicators are the next two. So the next two indicators are percentage of patients on the QoF asthma registered aged 18 plus with an ACT score done and a review done. The next one is on the register 18 plus with an action plan and review done. Similarly for COPD. So the first one is the percentage of patients on your COPD register aged 18 plus with the full COPD review. And again, things that the spec is asking you to do include those components listed there. 63% is what they'd like you to reach. And then for payment, what you need to do is you need to have your patients on the QoF register with a CAT score and review done. And the second one is QoF COPD register with action plan and review done. So to be honest, if you've reached 63% on the first indicator, you're going to get the following payment ones. Type 2 diabetes, again, first of all, they want you to, the spec asks you to do a review on your type 2 diabetic registered, age 17 plus. Having a full diabetic review. Those are the components: BP, BMI, cholesterol, HbA1c, serum creatinine, urine albumin, foot exam, retinal screening, and smoking status. That again is what they've called a process measure. For payment, what you're looking for is percentage of patients on type 2 diabetic registered, aged between 17 to 80 with lipid-lowering medication offered, HbA1c less or equal to 58, and BP control. Slightly different BP control for patients with CKD stroke TIA PAD. BP is less than or equal to 130/80. Okay. CVD, percentage on the QOF hypertension register, aged 18 plus with BP off target in financial year, who have been clinically reviewed. This is the same as you were doing last year, and it's 30%. And for the payment ones, you've also got percentage of patients on your QOF IHD or stroke TIA or PAD register, aged 18 plus with offer of lipid lowering therapy. Actually, for this indicator, they're also, we've missed something here. It's offer of lipid lowering therapy plus offer of anticoagulation therapy, just to highlight that. And then the next one, percentage of patients currently prescribed anticoag or antiplatelet not on a PPI with a review. Thank you, Prit. Next slide, if we can actually show you what template you need to be using. So as you know, CEG give you the resources of template searches and protocols. So the template that you need to be using for your LTC is the LTC QOF SNS review template. And as you can see, we've put a screenshot of the EMIS version and the System 1 for those practices that are System 1. Just to remind you actually that you've got the, it's a smart template, the LTC QOF one, so that if you've got a patient with COPD, the COPD page will show on the left-hand side. If you can see on the right-hand side, you've got things that are double starred. You'll also see things that are single starred. So the double stars or the single stars mean, therefore, that these are either the quality indicators or the payment indicators. Next slide, please. This is just a reminder actually for the EMIS practices, and this is just to flag up that there's two ways of choosing our templates. You can use template picker in consultation mode. We would say be a little bit cautious with this, because if you can see on the example I've given you on the left-hand side here, you can have a list of your favorites. Now, what you need to do is to make sure that you're using the correct version of the CEG templates. So what we would advise you to do is not just go and pick one of the favorites. You would need to put, where that little magnifying glass, you'd need to put RP. Then putting in RP will show you all the most up-to-date versions of the RP templates. The reason I'm flagging this up is because there's a quirk in EMIS that means, although we've updated it, if you've got an old version as one of your favorites, you can still access that old version. So it is a bit annoying. So the way we would advise practices to use our templates is to use, we have built a protocol launch F12, so that when you use the F12 key, it'll launch a box which will show all the clinical templates. There's the box, multiple choice question. What template would you like to use? They're all there. And if you use this approach, you will be using the most up-to-date versions of the templates. If you're looking at this and thinking, I've no idea, I'm in EMIS practice and I've never seen this F12 key and I don't know what she's talking about, I would suggest that you contact Prit, who will be able to help you with the setting up of this F12 key. System 1, I think, slightly different, isn't it, Prit? You have something like a tree, don't you, where you put the templates?
That's right, Jo. There's a tree where you can put your favourites. And again, we have instructions on how to do that if you've not used it before. So yeah, just drop me a line and I can send the instructions to you and support you.
Okay, thanks. Next slide, please. CEG also produce a wide range of searches to help you with your contracts. And this year we've just organise them slightly different on feedback from practices. So we've got the EMIS versions and the System 1 versions. So if I just show you how we're doing them this year. So for the example, the searches will be in population reporting. They're in the clinical effectiveness domain. They always have version numbers next to the folder title, so that if we have to update them, which we often do, either because we're given some extra information or by chance there might be an error that's spotted that we need to update, you will be sent in the e-bulletin notification that the version number has been updated. So you will then need to copy across that new version number to make sure you're on the correct one. Then we've split them into, if you see the long-term conditions, how am I doing? And recall and support. So the how am I doing will be the suite of searches that will give you an indication of how you're progressing towards the targets in the contract. For example, in the asthma, we split it up into asthma review, asthma score, and asthma self-management plan. And that'll just show you how you're doing. And then in the recall and support suite of searches, these are searches very useful for you to look at because you'll be able to identify which patients are missing the activity and who do you need to call in. In the EMIS view here, you've got, for example, asthma incomplete review. So this would help you with your process measure towards the full annual review. The first one is like a little form, and in that, that's an incomplete asthma review. If you open that, you will see like an Excel type spreadsheet, which will indicate which areas might be missing. You might be missing an ACT for a patient, an asthma action plan, and it'll give you the whole line so you can see what's missing. The ones underneath it, which say missing only ACT or missing only asthma action plan, that means you've done everything else for the review, and the only thing that is missing from that review, for example, is the ACT. So this is it's almost like quick wins on these searches. And we've got a similar one over there for System 1. Okay, next slide, please, Brett. Okay, next contract I'm going to look at is the high-risk asthma. So the indicator, percentage of patients with asthma age 6 and over with either 6 or more issues of salbutamol in financial year or an asthma admission in the financial year. That's your denominator. And then how many of those patients have had asthma medication review plus an asthma plan done. So that's the indicator for this. The payment has been split into 3 different bands, band A, band B, and band C. And you can see that there's different payments per weighted patients depending on your percentage achievement. Next slide, please. Again, where do you find the template, or where can you enter the information? It's on the LTC template. There's a page there on the asthma page where it's got a little section on KPI. So you can put in that information if somebody's had an asthma admission, for example, and then you tick the other boxes for achievement of that indicator. Next slide, please.
Jo, could I just add, obviously, you know, updating templates is quite dynamic. We're on version 1.1 now, so please don't be alarmed if you can't find version 1.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we will also inform you via the e-bulletin when we make any changes to the templates. Thanks, Pat. Okay, and similar to the ones above, we've got the searches. So we've got them again in the How Am I Doing folder and Recall and Support. So you can see very easily how are you achieving towards the target, and then on the Recall and Support, which ones haven't I done yet? So, and that's the same for EMIS as it is for System 1. Next slide, please. Next KPI is the high risk of COPD. So the indicator is patients with COPD aged 18 and over with either COPD emergency admission or prescribed 2 or more rescue packs or prescribed 2 or more issues of prednisolone in the financial year. That's your denominator. And how many patients from that denominator have been given a COPD action plan? That's what they're looking for. Again, payment is banded and you've got different weighted per weighted patient for different payment indicators there, depending on your percentage of achievement. Next slide, please. Where do you find the page to enter this? It's on the COPD page in our LTC template. Similarly for EMIS as it is for System 1. And as I said earlier, it's a dynamic template, a smart template. So if you've got a patient with COPD, the page will show up for them and you'll see that on the left-hand side and you can use that and enter all information. Just one other thing, actually, just to highlight, I highlighted the double stars, but the other thing that we also put on templates is you can see in the dark blue on the EMIS, in light blue in System 1, but those ones down the bottom are what are the hyperlinks. So you can click on there and we've added hyperlinks to documents that you might be able to use to get more information. Thanks, Britt. Next slide. Searches, similarly, you'll find them in the KPI folder, and there you've got the COPD suite, and you've also got recall and support searches for the COPD suite as well. CKD, another KPI. So this is looking at, it's slightly different from last year, this one. So they're looking for people who have got CKD stages 3 to 5, aged 18 plus. Last year, they were looking for evidence of CKD. This year, they're looking for diagnosis of CKD with BP less than 140/90, lipid lowering therapy offered, ACR. And then there's different bands applied to the different 3 indicators there. So for BP control, you've got band A, band B, and band C. The minimum to reach is 40%, payment up to 0.24, and then it goes up to a higher target. Well, if you get 100%, 72 to 100%, you get 0.68. Similarly for lipid lowering therapy, so you want CKD patients with lipid lowering therapy offered, and then you've got the following scale applied. Again, band A, band B, and band C. And the third one is your ACR, following scale applied to that as well. But to receive any payment at all, you've got to reach a minimum of band C must be achieved across all 3 indicators by the end of the financial year. Next slide, please. Again, we've written a suite of searches to support you. That again, similarly, they're in the KPI folder, and you've got your CKD suite of searches showing up under 1C. So you'll be able to see how you're achieving on those 3 different indicators. Again, in recall and support, remember to have a look at those because you'll be able to find in those patients who have not had the activity done in the financial year. Thanks, Bit. Next slide. Childhood immunisations. There's 2 indicators for this SNS, and what they're looking for is children aged over 1 year and 3 months and younger than 3 years fully vaccinated as per the Green Book. And we've put the hyperlink in there for the Green Book of what you would need to do. So it includes those ones that are listed below, for example, rotavirus, MenB, etc. And the second indicator is children aged over 3 years and 7 months and younger than 6 years fully vaccinated, again, as per the Green Book, and the indicators are highlighted there. Next slide, please. The payment, what we're looking at for the payment here is that they'll be looking at the baseline. Actually, that's baseline as of the 1st of the 4th, 2025. And then if you get an increase at the end of this financial year of 10%, or you've reached up to 96% on the target, £1 per weighted patient. Band B, baseline at the 1st of the 4th, 25. Sorry, we'll need just to update those slides before we send them out. And you don't get 10%, but you get 5%. You'll get 0.50p per weighted patient. Then they're saying if national target of 96% is achieved at year end, you get a further £1 per weighted patient will be payable, as well as the £1 per weighted patient in band A, which equals £2 in total. There's a number of exception reporting that you can use in this contract. So we will be picking up the declines, contraindicated, if you've contacted somebody 3 times with no response, and if patients are joining the practice during Q4, you may well not have time immediately to be giving them all these injections. And so if the activity is not done, then they're not included in the denominator. Next slide, please. Template, use the childhood immunisations template. So that'll be an RP template that you need to make sure that you use to ensure all of those immunisations are up to date. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, we haven't got the recall and support folder for childhood IMS, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but we have put in the how am I doing, so you'll be able to see very clearly using these searches how you are moving towards achievement of the target. Again, screenshot there for EMIS, screenshot there for System 1. Next slide, please. So the reason why we haven't done recall and support for searches is because we encourage practices to use our APL childhood immunisation tool. There's a version for both EMIS and for System 1. And using this tool, it's a very powerful tool for you to identify your children who are missing their vaccinations. And you are able to see incomplete vaccinations, you'll be able to see new registrations. It gives a lot of information. If you're looking again at this slide and thinking, I've never seen this, I don't know what this APL childhood immunisations tool is, again, please contact PRIT because we'd be very happy to make sure you get the tool, and also we can do an Teams probably. I mean, we can come out to practices as well, but we can easily do a Teams demonstration on how to use the tool. We're not going to go through that now, but if you haven't used it and want to, contact PRIT, please. Next slide, please. Okay, post-chat childhood asthma reviews. So what they're wanting here is they're wanting children who are aged 18 and under who've had an A&E attendance or admission for asthma in the financial year. And then you have had the discharge summary that you would need to actually record that you have seen the discharge summary by coding letter actioned by the GP. And then following that, you need to do a follow-up with the patient. So we have given a few days leeway here, like 7 days and 5 days of actioning letter. But to be honest, the purpose of this contract is that when you get that discharge letter of a child that's been in A&E, you need to follow up that patient to make sure everything is okay with the child. And so the payment, again, is banded. So if you get more than 90% of the cases followed up with an appointment, you get 100% of the payment. What I would urge with this contract, because I think this is quite a tricky contract, is that one, you do your coding. You're very, in practices, just make sure that if a child has been in with an A&E attendance or admission for asthma, you absolutely code that. You code that you've kind of seen the discharge summary by coding letter actioned, and you very quickly get a follow-up for the GP to actually follow up with that patient. The codes are in the template. Next slide, please, Prit. So the codes are all in the LTC template, asthma post-exacerbation. You'll find them in there. As I said, you've got the code for asthma hospital admission, you've got the letter actioned, and then have you done an asthma follow-up? Yes, when the asthma follow-up is done, please code that, and then you'll get payment. Okay, thanks, Prit. Next slide. Again, we have the suite of searches. You'll find them in the folder Children's Asthma Review Following Admission, and you'll be able to see there, okay, how many patients have we got with that code for an attendance? How many have we discharge summary actioned by the GP? What that means is that you've seen the letter and you've ticked that you've done it, and then follow up. Next slide, please. End of life contract. So first of all, the end of life contract, the definition of the register is patients added to register after the 1st of the 4th, 23. If you're adding new patients to the register, please use these following codes on gold standard palliative framework or anticipated palliative care or palliative care. Now, what I would advise practices to do is really review your register of patients on the that are coming up in this palliative care register. And you might find patients who have been put on and really palliative care is not actually currently indicated. And we would urge you to tidy up these registered. So when palliative care is not currently indicated, please remove those patients by using that code. Also, you may have patients who were added to the register long before the 1st of April 23. So that is quite a while ago now. So please have a look at those patients. Think, oh my goodness, they were put on the palliative care register and actually they are now in kind of the end stages. So if they are, then put the code on. They're either on the gold standards palliative framework or anticipatory palliative care or palliative care. So then you're starting to begin to tidy up this register. Next slide, please. Then in terms of the payment indicators, 2 payment indicators. So first one is patients who have been given a new urgent care plan this year, excluding patients who are in a CQC care home. The code to use, this is for EMIS, Advanced Care Plan Agreed. I don't think that code is yet in System 1, so we'll still have to look on the old code, which has an end-of-life care plan. But for EMIS practices, please use Advanced Care Plan Agreed if you're doing a new urgent care plan. The second indicator is for your end-of-life patients who are having palliative care plan reviews. So palliative care plan review code is that. I'll show you the template in a minute. You can claim for maximum of 2 reviews per patient per year, and this actually also includes your care home patients. In terms of payment, you get £200 for a new plan, £100 per review. And just note, payment for the early tool has been suspended for 25 to 26, not saying that you don't use them, but the payment has been suspended. Next slide, please. The template, again, it's in the LTC. A lot of, as you can see, a lot of stuff was in the LTC template, and there's the end-of-life palliative care page. So it's clearly written, if you're agreeing a new care plan with patient code, advanced care plan, this is an EMIS. If you're reviewing the care plan with patient code, palliative care plan review. As I said, for System 1, the advanced care plan code hasn't been launched in it yet, so you'd still have to use the end-of-life care plan. Thanks, Pet. Searches are done quarterly for the end of life, so you'll be able to see very clearly in each quarter how you are going to get paid. So if we look first of all at the quarterly payment searches, you've got 1, 2, and second care plan review. The denominator for these searches, they will be based on your currently registered population, but we're also included in that denominator patients who have left and died in the financial year, because it may be that you did the activity of on someone, either they left the practice or as their end of life, they may well have died in the financial year, and you will still want to be paid for that activity. If you want to see who you've got currently registered, i.e. nobody left and died, but they're currently registered patients, please go into the recall and support folder, and there you'll be able to see your currently registered end of life coded since April 23, and then of those populations who, for example, are missing an end of life care plan review, or they haven't got an end of life new plan. Hope that makes sense, and we've done the same for System 1. Next slide, please. Phlebotomy. Phlebotomy is looking at incidences of blood sample taken, instances of domiciliary phlebotomy, incidences of glucose tolerance tests. There's slightly different payments for practice-based and PCNs, and slightly different payment for the different indicators there. So £4 for blood sample, £8 for GTTs, and £16 for a domiciliary visit. And as I said, slightly different for PCNs. Okay, next slide, please. The template, there's a phlebotomy NEL template. This is will still be called RP, so you don't need to get confused on that, because we label all our templates with RP, and this is now made very clear, I think, for you. So if you're as a practice are taking a blood sample, you put blood sample. If you as a PCN are taking a blood sample on behalf of the practice, you put blood sample taken from patient registered at other general practice. We've also put in a code, there's phlebotomy domiciliary visit done, but I'm also put in a code there for unsuccessful phlebotomy. And if you can put the reason for that, that would be great too, because we're going to pull that as well. Okay, thank you. Next slide. And then there's the searches where you can look. There's 2 types of searches. in here. One, you can look to see which patients, that's the first lot on EMIS. If you see them blood sample taken monthly, you'll see which patients have had a blood sample taken. And then the ones down the bottom, the 1.1 with the little, looks like a little form next to it, are aggregate searches. So you'll be able to see the incidences of blood sample taken. Next slide, please. Primary Care Mental Health Service, this is the SMI one. This is the same as last year, actually, so I'm just going to whiz through this. So what they're looking for is 60% of patients who are on your SMI register with a complete physical health check done. So that's 9 elements that they're looking for, all listed below. It's a physical health check, so they're things like BP, BMI, nutritional physical activity, medicines reconciliation and review. There's no exception reported included in this, and you're getting 0.77 per weighted patient on achievement target. Next slide, please, Pet. Again, where do you find it? You find it in the LTC QOF template, and there will be a page that comes up for your SMI patients. And in there, there's a very clear section which is to record for the annual physical health check for patients. Okay, and again, there's the how am I doing? So you'll see exactly in the how am I doing, how far are you achieving towards the 60%. Actually, it's split underneath there, so you can see in each individual component how you're doing. And then for the recall and support, very, very useful. These ones are when you're just missing, again, if you're missing only one indicator. So you're only missing alcohol, you're only missing BMI, you've done everything else, but you're only missing one thing. These are terribly useful, I think, for practices. And the one at the top, which says 1 incomplete physical health check, missing criteria for the 9 physical health check, is what we call the, as I said earlier, it's like an Excel spreadsheet, and you'll get a complete view for each patient who's missing something. You'll be able to identify exactly what they're missing, because they may be missing more than one thing. I hope that makes sense, but I would, really urge you to use those support searches. Next slide, please. Okay, this is, I think this is a new one for Waltham Forest this year, actually, and this is for patients aged 18 and over with diagnostic spirometry done. And you get £70 per activity. So they're looking for the codes to indicate that you are doing spirometry to as a diagnostic tool. I have to come a little bit honest here, actually, that I think we might have, I've been looking at these slides, as we've been doing the searches, as we've been doing these slides, I've been reviewing these searches with a little bit more of a fine tooth comb, and we might need to make a slight change in this search. So that may well come out in the next couple of weeks with a slight change. Okay, next slide, please. Wound care, okay, yes, this has slightly changed from last year in terms of the coding that we are now using. But just to remind you what wound care is for, the following procedures are included: removal of sutures, clips, staple steri-strip, closed post-op wound dressing, open surgical wounds of a depth less than 2 centimeters, superficial wounds. But it does say, please note that all burns relating to children 0 to 16 should be referred to the UTC. What I actually I've just thought when I'm reading this is that we're going quite quickly through the contracts. And so I would urge you again to read very carefully your contract service specifications so that you're aware of everything that is included. Okay, next slide, please. So the indicator is payment per activity. So you get paid for these following activities: removal of dressing, cleaning wound, application of dressing, referral for complex wound care. And you get £13.13 for each of the above procedures. For the removal of dressing, cleaning wound and application of dressing, we look at incidences of those. For referral for complex wound care, that is just based on the number of patients who are referred for complex wound care rather than multiple referrals for complex wound care. Okay, next slide, please. The reason I'm flagging this up is you really need to make sure that you are using the correct version of the wound care template, because the coding has changed. It came to our attention that last year's wound care template had things, I think, like open wound, closed wound, and it was decided to up this template, update this template to use the actual kind of procedural codes, which are things like the code is you're removing a dressing, you're cleaning a wound, you're applying a dressing. Now, although I did say removal of skin sutures, clips and staples are paid, which they are, in terms of coding, what they have asked that you do is if you are removing skin sutures, can you please indicate that's what you're doing, but also just tick the box for cleaning wound, because then you'll be paid. Next slide, please. So again, for these ones, they're quarterly searches. Again, a bit like the other one that I highlighted, you first of all see number of patients with removal of dressing, and then underneath that you've got the incidences, for example, removing of dressing, cleaning wound, application of dressing, all with the incidences. There's also in the support, I've done a little support search there for you because I thought that you might just put in took sutures out and clips, and you didn't perhaps put that you'd clean the wound. So I just thought I'd put that search in there to help you identify people who you might want to add the other code, the payment code in as well. Okay, next slide. Oh, I think that's me done. Sorry, that was a bit of a fast way through it all. Prit, do you want to move on, or are there questions, or should we leave that to the end? What do you think?
There's no questions in the chat, Jo, so you're either doing really well
or I've just said too much. There's a lot to say, and I suppose just to put your minds at rest maybe a little bit is that you know, we will be doing some practice visits, so you know, we will be able to help again with that too. Brit, over to you then.
Lovely, thank you very much, Jo. So as I said in the agenda, I'm going to just give you a brief overview of the Public Health Services contract because not a lot has changed, and the bits that have changed you'll be quite pleased about, I hope. Start off with the NHS Health Check. The indicator is looking for patients with NHS Health Check completed, and also the ethnicity, BMI, BP, smoking status, and Q risk. And payment for this has increased from £25 to £30 per health check. The health check template, again, we've followed a very similar to what Jo's been doing. We've got the EMIS template and screenshots of the System 1 template. They're quite self-explanatory. What I've done is I've split it up because in the health check template, which is a template you should use for this, you have a main page which shows you some of the indicators. So you got your blood pressure reading, you'll have your pulse rhythm, your body mass index. So as again, anything with 1 or 2 stars is what you require for payment. And then as you move down the left side, you see the NHS Health Check page. And this is where you come to tick that the health check has been completed. You will need all of this to get the payment. And similarly in System 1 as well. The health check searches in EMIS, you have how am I doing and recall and support. Again, you know, if you've been doing this in previous years, nothing's really changed except we've had to update for the current year. We have in the how am I doing searches, you've got how many have started in the financial year. Then you've got quarter by quarter as well. So you've got how many you started in Q1, how many of those are complete. So these are the ones you will be paid for. We've got another one that says how many are incomplete. So by looking at the incomplete, you could actually review what is needed to make sure that you complete payment for those patients. And as I say, that's like a mop-up exercise to make sure you get paid. And similarly in System 1, we have, they're all in the same folder. We don't have 2 different folders for these. So your recall and support and your how am I doing are all in the one folder. Moving on to your other public health services, this is for LARC. And the indicator of this is for patients who've got a LARC either fitted or removed in the quarter. The IUCD payment, the insertion fee, including any follow-up check, remains at £100. And also practices can claim the PPA for the device if it's been provided by the practice. The IUCD removal fee is £25 now, so slightly up from last year. The implant insertion fee is £60, up from £50, and the implant removal fee is £40, which is up from £33. Also want to point out for the IUS, please remember to also tick the enhanced service code for this, because the payment is linked to that. I'll show you on the next screen. So this is just the EMIS one, system one. I'll show you on the next screen. If you go to the women's health template, which is where you need to record this, you have the IUCD and IUS page where you can record the procedure. And then if you go to the IUS screen, if you're doing an IUS insertion or removal, at the top here you have 2 stars, which says enhanced service. So please remember to tick that as well as the procedure you're performing. And similarly in system 1, so you've got the IUCD and IUS implant page, and then you've got the enhanced service tick box, as well as the procedure that you're performing. Your searches are in the sexual health and LARC support searches folder. You've got a support search here, which is your LARC with possibly an enhanced service code missing. So again, look at this, review this at least monthly, I would say, just to see whether anybody has put the procedure code in and not put the enhanced service code in, because as I say, practices will not be paid unless both are available. And similarly in system 1, you have support searches there too. For sexual health, you have 2 indicators here. So you have screening and management of positives. Now, for the first 3, for HIV, Hep B, and the syphilis, herpes, and warts, excepting HIV, because obviously that's being paid separately, this is looking at positive results. So although you may do the screening, you're only going to be paid if you have a positive result and if you're managing the patient as per the specification. So hopefully you've all got the specification there, but this will be inbuilt into our templates too. So for HIV, there's a payment of £150, for Hep B, £160, and for the STIs, you have a £60 payment. For the chlamydia and gonorrhea, you will be paid only for screening, and that will be there's 2 age groups here actually. There's age 15 to 25, you'll get £9 per patient because this is where it's more prevalent. And then you have, if you screen other ages, you'll get £5 per patient. Again, our support searches are in the sexual health and LARC support searches folder. So we have highlighted where you've performed an STI screening or result, but you haven't included the enhanced service code. And as this box down here tells you, you need to also tick the specialized sexual health enhanced service completed code. But if the test was performed for other reasons, so if it was for medical, travel, occupational health, rather than just sexual screening, please do not apply the sexual health enhanced service code because that will prompt payment and it may not be necessary. So just to show you the template, this time you will use the women's health template. You have the sexual health patient at double asterisk to show you that this is the enhanced service code. And then you will go to complete the screening. And this is similar in system 1. And for the actual management of the results, you've got a sexual health template. So please do take note of these templates just so you're using the right ones. And here you can see in the sexual health page, you have where you can record the tests and where you have a section for the management as well. And if this is not completed, remember you will not be paid unless it's just chlamydia and gonorrhea. And similarly for system 1. Hopefully this is a familiar screen to most of you, but this is how payment will be made quarterly. So CEG provides you with a public health invoicing tool. As you can see on there, you have a section, a page for NHS health checks and sexual health invoices. You will only get paid for sexual health invoices if you've signed up for the service. So please, if you're in any doubt, please do query it with either myself. We can forward you onto the public health team if you think that, especially once you've run the template, the tool, if you feel that you should be paid for sexual health and you haven't, it could be that there's a PO number missing or something. So do get in touch and feed that back to us and we can help you with that. This is the main page, so it's got everything on here. So it's got all your sexual health payments and your NHS health check payments. And here we have the searches for the tool. They will be quarterly. At the moment, they're all currently version 1. We will let you know when we send the tool out whether the searches have changed, because there could well be some updates to quarter 2, so that will be version 2. So please do use the manual that we send alongside the tool, because you won't necessarily know that there's new searches to be picked up unless you're following the tool, or at least just reading it to see that you got the right searches. But again, any problems, just drop me a line and I'm happy to help.
Okay, this is just really to flag up what else we do so that you don't miss out on things. So we talked about the APL tools, we talked about the childhood IMS one, but we do have other ones available for practices to use. There's a cancer diagnosis audit tool where you can review by using the tool, enable you to review your processes around suspected cancer referrals. There's the National Diabetes Prevention Programme tool, and this enables you to easily view a list of eligible patients for referral to the NDPP program. And then we've got the atrial fibrillation tool. Actually, we've got a new one coming out soon, which will help clinicians review your AF patients. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please contact Brit, because we'll be able to show you these very helpful tools for practices. Next slide, please, Brit. Okay, what else do we do? We've gone through a lot of the contract searches, but we do have other searches in the folders that you will find very useful. For example, there's an example of the PCN ones. You've got investment and impact fund searches in there. SMI physical health check search is very similar to the contract that you're doing. In immunizations and vaccinations, again, you will find very helpful searches, and we've just published RSV searches in there, and we've just published shingles searches for 25 to 26 this year. And in your QuAFDES and CQRS support search, again, we've just published the RSV search for pregnancy for your claims. So I suppose I'm just highlighting this because it gives you an idea of what additional stuff CEG offer you. Next slide, please. Okay, this is our website. On here, people have asked about the recording, for example, of this webinar. We'll put the recording up on this website. There's also a very good QoF one if you missed the QoF one, so please have a little look at that, because that will give you all the information there, and you'll find other information too. The software tools are our APL tools, so you could have a little look there just to find out, or urge your clinicians to have a look. Next slide, please. The other thing we offer are practice visits and one-to-one support. We will be sending emails out shortly for us so that we can come and see you in your practices and help you look at your templates, look at your searches. We are there to support you. If you have any issues with any of our stuff, you must contact us, please, because we work with you in our development of stuff. Next slide, please. E-bulletin, we send this out weekly. If you don't get this, again, please let us know, because in here we are telling you when we revise searches, when we revise templates, when we publish searches. If there's a new spec or anything coming out, it'll all go into our weekly e-bulletin, so you do need to be subscribed to that to get our information. Next slide. And I think it's the last one actually on here, and when you get the slides, or you can have a little look on that whatever it's called, QR code, isn't it? There, that will take you to our website, and this is where all our resources are. Coming soon, I don't think we've got a slide for that, have we, Prit? But I just want to say that we've just produced a shiny kind of brand new dashboard, which we'll be publishing soon, which will cover your LTC, the contracts that we've been talking about. And instead of having numerous different dashboards, you will have it all in one place. So I think that'll make it easier for you. The other thing is, just very quickly, is that we will be updating some of those searches that I've shown you. We did a bit of a deep dive, and we've been through it again with the ICB, and there's a few things that need tweaking. There's a few labels that are a little bit incorrect. So look out for the next version. Will be coming probably in the next week of just some of the updated searches. That's it. Thank you. Oh, contacts. Oh, yeah, so that you know who to contact. So there's Prit, there's myself, and there's Faye, who will be coming back soon. So there's our contact details. And thank you so much for attending. And please stay in contact with us. And we will also be doing later on, but not quite yet, but later on we'll be doing another drop-in regular sessions for you, so you can come and speak to us if there's any issues, because what we'd like to do is support you, identify any issues before the end of the year. That's it.
Thank you, everyone.